Committee on, Senate Committee on Taxes will come to order. It is Tuesday, April 29th. It is 9:01 a.m. The quorum is present. First item on our agenda is adoption of the minutes. Are there corrections or additions to the amendments, to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as presented. The first bill, it's a bill we're returning to, Senate File 219, which deals with e-bikes. We're going to take this up again with an amendment that I understand is satisfactory to all the parties who have been working on this. And then we are going to, for the time being, keep the bill in the Taxes Committee, either for inclusion in the tax bill, but also making it available to Senator Dibble at an appropriate time to take it up in the transportation bill, if that is the guidance that you are pursuing at this point. But I want everybody to know what that plan is without objection. Right?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's wonderful.
Okay, Senator Dibble, do you want to move the, we're not going to go back over the bill because we know what it is. But Senator Dibble, would you like to move the? Yes. Would you like to move that Senate File 219 be taken from the table?
Madam Chair, I move Senate File 219 be taken
On that
from the
motion,
table.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion prevails.
Madam
And
Chair.
now, Senator Dibble, do you want to move the A11 amendment?
Madam Chair, I move the
I'm sorry,
A11.
excuse me, we need a intervening
Oh,
motion.
To reconsider the A5.
We need to, Senator Dibble moves to reconsider the A5 amendment.
That was adopted last time.
Yeah, that was adopted in the previous hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion prevails, and we can leave it at that. And now Senator Dibble brings to us and moves the A11 amendment, which is a delete all.
I make that motion, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, would you
Senator
like me to describe
Abler.
it? I can describe it.
And
And I
I'm going
can
to
be
call
brief
you
about
to
it.
do exactly that. Please do.
So sometimes you have such a cluttery kitchen, you just have to put everything on the floor and start over. This is what this is doing. This bill has evolved from a bill that had a threshold of $1,500 certificates, 1,500 of them about. There's $2.5 million left for people, 40% going to moderate and low income. The amendment that's before you makes it 100% income-based and pushes toward all the certificates to people with a disability. The issue is, how do we define that? There's a Social Security definition, and or they have a disability parking permit. We worked with Revenue. There's also a report to come, and the commissioner will work on getting something done by August, and then work on when the actual the thing is going to be. There's going to be a lottery, and if you recall, 1% of Minnesotans thought this was a great idea, and they applied. Money was going in 11 seconds. This will be a lottery, and the people who are eligible for that lottery would be people of the income limits and people with disabilities. I think that's pretty much the whole program, and I think it's really, I could not be happier to be in the care of two chairs who both like it. I think this has gone from a program that was certain to not survive to something that I think we're going to brag about. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Are there discussions on the delete everything amendment? Comments? Senator Dibble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Abeler, for your work. Madam Chair, I know you've been very involved as well in shaping the bill. And I think to the point that Senator Abeler made, the whole point of e-bikes is not to create a fun toy that people can afford. It's to improve mobility and access for folks who otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity to get to where they need to go by means other than a car or even a bus if that's not a viable option for them. So this is a big improvement to our overall transportation system that we're trying to make available to everyone in Minnesota. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Dibble. Any further discussion? We have a couple of testifiers. C.J. Linder. Is that person present?
Madam Chair, they're just here
If
for
not
advice. if you
necessary.
need any.
Also, Sarah Bronson is here to answer any questions from the Department of Revenue. Okay, so, oh, here she comes.
Thank you.
One of the challenges for this bill was to make sure it was administrable, because we have run into those kinds of challenges and before with programs and, quite frankly, fallen short. So maybe some assurance from you, Assistant Commissioner, that the DE amendment allows this program to be administered honestly and efficiently. Can you do that?
Madam Chair, members, good morning. My name is Sarah Bronson. I'm an Assistant Commissioner at the Department of Revenue. So I just want to start off by saying we really appreciate the author, the stakeholders in this committee working with Revenue to ensure that we could administer the language. And I will say that Revenue does not have concerns with the administration of this amendment. It includes all of the things that we needed to ensure all of the things, Madam Chair, that you just said, that we can administer this, that we can verify the information, and that we can do it as efficiently as possible.
Thank you very much. Anything further, Senator Abeler?
Well, and just to acknowledge how this has really grown from a program that was nice, and we had some pass out, $1.5 million, and people got e-bikes, would that be 1,000 people or something, to something that is actually just kind of transfixed people, even the commissioner himself and the assistant commissioner here and 2 chairs. And I think, in a world where it's so crazy here, this is going to be something like, look what we did. So I want to thank everybody for their help on this, the advocates and all the department people, your staff. Mr. Greenfield had like 6 versions of this or more, and thank you so much. I really appreciate your attention. And Madam Chair, I could not think of a safer place to be than on the table in your committee with the watchful eye of Senator Dibble. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Abeler, and I appreciate your mentioning the work of Mr. Greenfield and the Transportation Committee's Senator Dibble. Senator Dibble then has moved the DE amendment. And so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. And now Senator Dibble moves that Senate File 219, well, we don't have to have another motion. Senate File 219 as amended will be laid over.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'm
Thank you,
very grateful.
Senator.
Thank you.
The next bill is Senate File 2337. Senator Weber. Senator Weber offers the A2 amendment. It is an author's amendment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody else want to vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed, say no. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Senator Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Basically, the A2 amendment is a delete everything amendment that takes the broader implications of the original bill and brings it down to apply to the city of Bloomington only. And just for background, for purposes of the committee, in 2021, the legislature authorized cities to transfer unobligated tax increments to provide loans and interest rate subsidies or other assistance to private development projects, provided that, and the construction of those rehab of buildings in order to create and retain jobs. That authority to transfer expired on December 31st, 22, but was allowed for projects where construction would begin before December 31st of 2025. Basically what this bill does is that the transferred increment must be spent or actually extends that time to December 31st of 2027. And so that's the purpose of the amendment. And Madam Chair and members, I'm just going to put this out there so that everyone is aware. There is some disagreement as to whether the language of the amendment as it's presented does everything that the city and the Port Authority need to be done as it relates to accomplish this. I will allow them to mention it, Madam Chair. I will also mention that there is ongoing conversation with Mr. Nord of the State Auditor's Office, with nonpartisan counsel, and with that, I will turn the table over to Mayor Bussey from the City of Bloomington.
Thank you very much. Senator Weber, welcome to the committee. Please, if you would identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. My name is Tim Bussey. I have the honor and the pleasure of serving as the mayor of the City of Bloomington. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you here this morning. Today, the City of Bloomington is before you seeking a 2-year extension for its spending plan TIF authorized under the temporary transfer authority. This extension will offer our community the best chance to take advantage of this unique and powerful economic development tool. It'll also help us maintain the viability of a regional tourism attraction and destination that attracts 32 million visitors annually and generates over $2 billion a year in state economic development. In 2022, the Bloomington City Council and the Port Authority approved an amended spending plan for tax increment. And in that amended spending plan, the city identified different types of projects as essential for maintaining a thriving hospitality industry in Bloomington and in the region. And those projects identified included a water park, a sports complex, and or an entertainment or event facility in Bloomington's South Loop neighborhood, which is adjacent to the Mall of America. Obviously, such a project would help our friends at Mall of America, which is responsible for 12% of the city's tax base. It would help them diversify their offering and continue to attract new local and out-of-state visitors. Finally, the additional development is key in supporting the South Loop, which is one of Bloomington's fastest growing neighborhoods. South Loop has added 1,900 housing units since 2015, a good number of which are affordable. They've added multiple hotels and is home to major employers like Health Partners, Polar Semiconductors, Six Sensors, Skywater Semiconductors, TKDA, and others. South Loop, if you don't know, it's just south of Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport, and it is connected to the Blue Line light rail transit. In 2022, a water park was identified as the project which would utilize the spending plan TIF. The City Council, Bloomington Port Authority, and Mall of America developed plans together to advance the project. It won't surprise anyone to hear, since the 2022 approvals, construction costs and interest rates have risen steeply, and real estate and development projects have become more challenging to complete. Extending the timeline for spending this increment would allow for completing important development and growth in the South Loop that attracts visitors to the city and the region, keeps a key regional tourism asset strong, supports new business generation and commercial development, and enhances the quality of life for all residents. As the Senator mentioned, we are also in the progress of clarifying whether additional language is needed to provide sufficient authority to amend the spending plan. We have spoken with OSA and the State Council and Senate Council and our council, and we plan to resolve this just as soon as possible. We truly appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you today in your consideration of this request. I'm here with Holly Masick, our Port Authority Administrator for the City of Bloomington. We're happy to answer any questions you might have regarding this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Are there questions or comments for the mayor? Then, Mr. Makarios, welcome to the committee. If you would identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and thank you very much. My name is Kyle Makarios, and I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota Building and Construction Trades Council. We represent 70,000 union construction workers across the state who work for thousands of Minnesota employers, and we strongly support Senator Weber's bill to briefly extend TIF flexibility for Bloomington for 2 additional years. We're particularly excited about this bill because of the significant impact on construction jobs that it will have on the next phase of the Mall of America. Since its initial construction, the Mall of America has been an outstanding partner to the building trades. Nearly every day since we first broke ground on the mall 30 years ago, there have been union construction workers building the various phases of the mall, doing tenant build-outs, or performing maintenance in the building or the amusement park. The Mall of America may be the longest-running continuous construction site in our state, and they have been excellent partners to our unions. This bill will allow the mall the time it needs to put financing in place for its next phase, and we're excited to help them build it. The proposed Mystery Cove Water Park will be a direct construction investment of $325 million and will put many hundreds of our members to work, building a great amenity that will boost tourism and bring even more people to visit us here in Minnesota. We're proud of our long-standing partnership with the Mall of America and encourage this committee to support this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Makarios. Any questions or comments for Mr. Makarios? Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Jason Nord from the OSA's office to come and identify the issues that are still being discussed, but the bill before us has been identified as only dealing with the extension of the unobligated increment and its disposition. And we have identical language for the cities of Marshall and Oakdale. And this language is the same in terms of its permissions as for those 2 cities. But apparently, although current law allows districts and cities and authorities, economic development authorities, to change their spending plans, I note that it says that in your materials, you request the ability to amend your spending plans. Well, that's already in current law. Mr. Nord, if you would just give us some, all of us, Senator Weber and I are certainly aware of the objections to not including that other language, but if you would define it from your understanding where those issues lie at this point.
Sure. Madam Chair, members, my name is Jason Nord. I'm the TIF Division Director at the Office of the State Auditor. And I guess, as I understand it, there have been amendments to spending plans already. There have been, including the Bloomington Port Authority amended their plan back in 2022. There's been 3 other authorities that have amended their spending plans. So on some level, you can amend spending plans. There's nothing in the current law that would prohibit that. But I guess it boils down to what exactly do you want to amend it to say? And does that conflict with anything else in the statute? For example, the deadline in the statute to transfer increment was 2022. The deadline to commence construction is still the end of 2025. So if they're thinking about amending a spending plan to go beyond those parameters, then you wouldn't necessarily need language to be able to amend your spending plan as much as you would need additional language to deal with the statute. And I certainly understand that they would want some comfort language to acknowledge that they can amend their spending plan at this point. And I can't prospectively say, I can't anticipate what they want to do, so I can't say whether they absolutely need authority or don't need authority, but it kind of depends on the details of what they're looking to change the plan to say or do.
Thank you, Mr. Nord. Are there questions or comments for Mr. Nord? Seeing none, thank you very much. Senator Weber, do you have a final comment?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you for hearing this bill. I think my comment to the city and the Port Authority is I understand that they're concerned about their bond attorneys in New York, and I understand that's always an issue, having been a mayor as well. But I think at this point, what I'd like to see them do is request from their bond attorneys, okay, where in state law is it deficient to allow the city to do what they are desiring to do? And if there is something that they can point to, then we can consider that, in my opinion. And hopefully that can get done quickly, and we can deal with this as things progress.
Thank you, Senator Weber. Are you aware of the status of the House companion?
It's my understanding, Madam Chair, that the House companion is the original bill that I had introduced. That way I now downsize through the A2 amendment. And it's my understanding they have heard that bill in the House. And obviously I don't know what's going to be in their final bill.
Fine. Thank you very much. Want to make sure every card is on the table here. Thank you very much. Senate File 2337 as amended will be laid over.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Hauschild, helium. It's a really long title, Senator Hauschild, of a bill that reduces itself to a single word, which I've been reminded is number 2 on the periodic table, which of course all of us learned at one time. Or
I wasn't much of a science major, Madam Chair, more of a, yeah, you can imagine what I was.
okay. Okay, so Senator Hauschild offers the A2 amendment, and I will indicate also.
Oh, yeah, sorry. There's my typo for the day.
Yeah, A21.
This is the typo of the day. It's the A21 amendment. And it is in your packets. It's an author's amendment, but Senator Hauschild, we're going to adopt it, and then you're going to explain it, okay? All those in favor of the A21 amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion prevails, and the amendment is adopted. Senator Hauschild.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today I have the opportunity to present Senate File 2530. As you all have heard me talk about many times over, Northern Minnesota has a proud and deep-rooted legacy as a resource-rich region, a region that has fueled America's progress for generations. From the iron that built our cities and won our wars, to the timber that framed our homes and schools, to the hardworking spirit that has sustained our communities, the Range and the Northland has always answered the call. Today, we stand on the forefront of a new chapter in that legacy. A once-in-a-generation helium discovery near Babbitt offers Minnesota another opportunity, a chance to lead again. Helium isn't just about balloons anymore, albeit that is what it's most widely known for. It's actually a critical element for MRI machines. It provides about 80% of the materials for MRIs to save lives. It's used in rocket engines to explore space, semiconductors and chip manufacturing, as well as smartphones and advanced manufacturing technologies. This discovery could help us ensure America's supply of helium is secure, create good-paying jobs, and strengthen the economic vitality of our rural communities, just like mining and timber still do. But we must do it right. We must make sure that the communities where this resource is found benefit directly from its production, that local governments are protected, and that we build a fair, transparent, and responsible tax structure to support our schools, infrastructure, and our future for generations to come. That's why I've introduced this bill, and what I might do is jump sort of to a summary of the tax for everyone, and then I'm also happy to sort of walk through the bill. But I think it would be helpful for everyone if I sort of walked through the high-level items in the tax portion.
Absolutely, and in particular, if you can, this is a very lengthy page and line amendment that we adopted on your behalf, but it is not indicated as being a DE amendment, so we would appreciate being enlightened on the particulars of the 821 as well. Thank you very much, Senator Hauschild. Please continue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yeah, this amendment it doesn't fundamentally change what was in the original tax provisions for this bill. It just makes changes that needed to make it work with feedback from the Department of Revenue, as well as some of the feedback that I had from communities and others. So I'll sort of describe what it does via
great.
the amendment.
Appreciate it.
So what it does is it establishes a gross proceeds tax on helium, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen with a rate of 7% for the first 3 years and 9% in the years following. The proceeds are deposited in the following manner: 10% to the IRRB, 45% to counties, school districts, cities, and towns located in a helium relief area, which is defined as the geographical area of the school districts within a boundary of 17 miles of a gas well. So what we're doing is we are basically pinpointing the gas well, and then we are spreading out 17 miles in a circular radius, and whatever school districts are picked up in that radius become part of what is then referred to as the helium relief area. As new gas wells are discovered, that helium relief area would be expanded upon each year, and the proceeds would go to those new school districts and the cities and towns within those school districts as defined in that radius. So that's 45%, and then the other 45% would go to the helium property tax relief account and pay, as of right now, a $50 helium homestead credit, similar to the taconite homestead credit, Madam Chair, and establish that account. The other piece of this bill would provide property tax exemptions for property used in the business of mining. This is very similar to what we do for taconite, or it's identical to what we do for taconite. It also establishes the occupation tax for gas. So we have an occupation tax, or what might others define as a corporate tax on mining. And we are adding gas to that, which is then distributed constitutionally 40% to schools statewide. So all the schools in the state will benefit with 40% of that corporate tax or occupation tax. 10% would go to the University of Minnesota. Those two provisions, the 40% to the schools and the 10% to the U, those are constitutionally designated. So that's 50% of the corporate tax, i.e. occupation tax for mining of gas.
And Senator Hauschild, that's because that's the proportions and the percentages for other taxes of minerals. Is that correct?
That's exactly right,
So
Madam
it's
Chair.
the same.
Yep.
Yes.
Then the remaining 50%, so 25% would go to any counties within that helium relief area. And as it, again, this is a dynamic helium relief area, so it would grow as helium is discovered in Mankato or, Cottage Grove, whatever. I'm just making those names up, but this is not just a range thing, is my point by saying that. And then 25% would go to tribes located within the helium relief area as defined by their treaty. It would also provide a sales tax exemption. This is also identical to taconite, what we do for taconite. And then provide some corporate and income tax exemptions based on the processing and production of gas. So those are kind of the breakdown of the tax structure as defined in the amendment and the process by which the helium relief area would be established over time. Madam Chair, I'm happy to continue to walk through the bill if you would like. That's kind of those are the main components, however.
Thank you, Senator Hauschild. You know, this bill is still in its first engrossment. This is going to end up being its second engrossment. If today is successful, the result will be that Article 3 will stay in the Tax Committee, and Articles 1 and 2 will be moved to the Committee on Finance. Does the A21 amendment provide for that with regard to keeping the tax article in the Tax Committee?
Madam Chair, I believe the answer is yes, but I would want to confirm with
And,
council just to be
Ms.
100%
A
sure.
little bit different
Right.
than what we usually do, but it is not unprecedented, or at least I hope it's not. And I don't see any reason for a tax provision that is tax policy for the future to be reviewed by the Committee on Finance. Are there questions? Or Mr. Sylvia, further comment for us, please.
Madam Chair and Senator Hauschild, members, I just want to confirm that that's correct. Nothing in the 821 amendment would change that path as you just described and would send the taxation article to finance. Nothing in the 821 would change that.
So if we adopt the A21, the tax article drops out, and then the proper motion after that would be the bill just be passed and referred to the Finance Committee, because none of these amendments, well, no. It would include the A21 amendment, even as it drops off the tax article. I want to be really clear of what we're doing. Is that correct, Mr. Sylvia?
Madam Chair, right, so the 821 amendment, when it's adopted, as it was adopted, would now be sort of engrossed in Article 3, and then I believe the motion at the end would then probably be to delete Article 3, and that way we would keep it here, we would bring it into the omnibus, and then we would just send Articles 1 and 2 to the Committee on Finance.
Okay, so we have adopted the A21,
Yes.
which makes changes to all of the articles,
Just
Just
okay.
taxes.
Just taxes.
just the tax one. And then we will delete Article 3. Okay? Is that path clear? And we have adopted the A21, so then Senator Hauschild, your motion is to delete Article 3.
Madam Chair, I move that we delete Article 3 from Senate
All-
File 2530.
Thank you. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion prevails. We now have Senate File 2530 before us, which now is limited to Articles 1 and 2, with no changes to those articles.
And Madam Chair, I do have a local, or a testifier from northern
Yes,
Minnesota. Okay, I just want to make sure we
what
didn't
we've
miss
got-
that. Okay.
What we have in front of us, and everybody knows what that is, because again, it's, what we're doing is fairly unusual.
Yes.
So, the commissioner from Lake County, welcome to the committee. If you would identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Tax Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to offer a few brief comments. My name is Rich Svay, and I am Chair of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. I'm here to express our support for Senate File 2530 and the legislation establishing the gross proceeds tax on helium extraction. I wish to thank Senator Hauschild for all his efforts in producing Bill 2530 and his outline and the introduction this morning. While commercial helium extraction has not yet begun in our region, we are optimistic about the industry's potential. As local officials, we believe it is important to be proactively put a fair tax structure in place, one that ensures our communities see meaningful benefits if and when extraction occurs. As an example, similar legislation exists for taconite and precious metals industries. Those histories of mining legislation has weighted the benefits derived from those taxes to schools, towns, cities, and counties in those production and mining localities. The gross proceeds tax, as outlined, is a reasonable and effective way to capture the value from helium production at its source. As proposed, Senate File 2530 dedicates a significant portion of those revenues towards local tax relief, local public education, local government services. This direction enhances local governance and supports the long-term prosperity of the county, focusing on public safety, education, and community development. Lake County supports this direction. With that, thank you, Madam Chair, and members, for your thoughtful consideration.
Further discussion? Senator Drazkowski, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Hauschild. I was reading some notes that staff prepared on the taxation part. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but 10% goes to IRRB. So if gas is mined in Wabasha County, will 10% go to IRRB?
Senator Hauschild.
Madam Chair, Senator Drazkowski, the IRRB, I should have said this, and my apologies. The IRRB gets 10% if the gas is found in the taconite assistance area. If gas is found outside of the taconite assistance area, there is a waterfall taking that 10% and distributing it to the rest of the formula.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you for that clarification, Senator Drazkowski.
Yeah, that's an important piece, Madam
It
Chair. I
really is.
apologize for missing that, yes.
So we have Senate File 2530 as amended before us. Senator Hauschild moves adoption, recommending it to pass and being sent to the Committee on Finance. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion prevails. Thank you very much, Mr. Svay.
Thanks again.
Welcome to the committee. Senate Rest Senate File 3405 is in front of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members. When in past years, the state and local tax deduction was limited to $10,000, there were many attempts by state governments to do a workaround so that the full deduction of for those taxes could be realized. Where we came a challenge was through pass-through entities such as subchapter S corporations, where generally all of the revenue, all of the deductions are passed through, that's why it's called that, passed through to the individual shareholders. the tax and the revenue or the earnings are not presented as on the subchapter S corporation's return itself. The workaround was to allow subchapter S corporations to take the whole deduction at the corporate level, thereby escaping the SALT limitation and being able to take the whole amount, or to whatever degree was otherwise permissible. And so what this bill does, and I'm joined in it by the Republican co-chair in the House, is to allow that to continue for 2 more years. Otherwise, it would, as I understand it, it would expire. So the bill extends the pass-through entity tax treatment and the credit through 2027. And we're going to be seeing, hopefully through the end of this year or sometime, what the federal government is going to do with regard to individual income tax, as well as corporate income tax. Ms. Pollack, did I miss anything on explaining this?
Ms. Pollack.
Sorry. It's my pocket.
Ms. Pollack.
Mr. Chair and Senator Rust, no, you didn't miss anything.
Senator Rest. Members' questions or comments? There are no testifiers. Senator Rest, Senate File 3405 will be laid over.
Thank you very much.
We move now to Senate File 3413.
Mr. Chairman and members, we have in the past dealt with requests from tribes or bands with regard to property that is not otherwise tax exempt, and in particular when there have been parcels in areas outside of the tribal lands, to carry the benefit to that property. And this bill allows that as well. And we have tried to have, the reason why this one is really unique is because the portion, because it only applies to a specific portion of a building in Minneapolis. And so we need to make sure that any other activities, like in this building, 2 floors of apartments, like a parking ramp underneath, that they're not included because they're not part of the tribe's activities or the band's activities itself. And so the language is directed to that, and it has to be extremely specific. This is, again, a unique request, not so much for tax, property tax exemption for a property like this, but one that has multi-use, and some of those uses are not directly related to the tribe's function as a tribe. So that's what the building That's what the bill does. And I see that Mr. Edwards of the Mille Lacs Band is here to testify. We have had some discussion about whether different language is, again, different language is needed. We are going to examine this every which way to make sure that only that specific part of the building, because we have not done this before. This has not been done before, but only that specific part of the building that that is used by the tribe receives the property tax exemption as is appropriate and necessary.
Welcome to the committee. Mr. Edwards, please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Yes, and Senator Rest has done a great job of summarizing this project. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jamie Edwards. I'm the Special Advisor on Intergovernmental Affairs for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe. I'm here today to present testimony in support of Senate File 3413, a bill designed to create a tax exemption for the governmental services portion of a mixed-use building currently under construction in Minneapolis. Although the development's primary aim is to address the need for more affordable housing options for tribal members residing in the Twin Cities, the building will also house the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe's urban office and the Anji Bamadazing program, which is a federally funded workforce development program. Both will be located on the ground level with an additional community gathering space. This mixed-use property will be located on Bloomington Avenue and East 23rd Street in South Minneapolis. Floors 2 through 4 will consist of 36 affordable housing units, including 12 studios, 6 one-bedroom units, 12 two-bedroom units, and 3 three-bedroom units. The structure will also have a sub-level that includes a parking garage. Over the past 5 years, we've transformed an empty lot in South Minneapolis into a 4-story mixed-use building for our urban band members. This space will offer governmental services and affordable housing. We ask for your support on this proposal for a tax exemption for the government services section of the property. Miigwech for your time.
Members, questions or comments? Senator Rest, Senate File 3413 will be laid over. Any announcements, Senator Rest?
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are no announcements in particular. We are not meeting tomorrow or Thursday, so just to clear your calendars for that. We are waiting decisions from our respective leaders, including the governor's office, about how we're going to proceed with tax bills. The tax bill in the House, as you know, generally is offered and sent to the floor before the one in the Senate, and the Senate bill becomes generally a comment, not only our own priorities, principles, whatever, but a comment on the House bill. And so we will be waiting, unless directed otherwise, to adopt our bill, which we've been working on and have really appreciated not only the work of staff, of course, but each of you in what's going to be included in our bill. But we are continuing to work, but we don't have a date yet for when it's going to be heard in committee or moved to the floor, or the timing of that relative to action by the House. So it's a big question mark. So just want to make sure everybody understands that, and that is the status of things now, and if it changes, I will be sure to let all of you know, and in particular Senator Weber, your members, and I will be in touch with ours. So, Mr. Chairman, you may adjourn the committee.
Committee is adjourned.